A cold wind howled against the windows of the abandoned mansion as Emma Dawson stepped inside, her flashlight trembling slightly in her hand. She had not planned to be trapped here, especially not with the one person she hated the most, Adrian Blackwood. Life had a cruel sense of humor. She had come to the outskirts of town for work, researching a historical estate for her magazine column, but the sudden storm had turned the roads into rivers. By the time she reached the mansion's iron gate, rain was falling in sheets, the thunder shaking the sky apart. And then, as if fate wanted to punish her further, she saw headlights behind her. Adrian stepped out of his car with that same infuriating arrogance she remembered from college. Handsome, wealthy, smug, the man who once ruined her career. She didn't speak to him then. She simply rushed inside for shelter. But now, with the door slammed shut by the wind and refusing to open, they were trapped together. Adrian tried the door and sighed. "Great, just great," he muttered. "Of all people to be stuck with," Emma ignored him and walked further into the dusty foyer. Cobwebs hung from the chandelier like forgotten memories, and each step she took echoed through the hall. "Don't follow me," she snapped when she heard his footsteps. "Relax, Dawson. I'm not interested in your company either," Adrian said, setting his wet jacket down. She hated how calm he looked, how unaffected he always seemed, while she felt every emotion like a storm. They moved through the mansion in tense silence, both trying to find another exit. But every door was jammed, every window sealed shut by rusted locks or wooden boards. When Emma pushed open a door to what looked like a library, the air smelled like old paper and forgotten stories. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating rows of towering bookshelves. She walked inside, captivated despite her irritation with him. Adrian stood at the doorway, watching her with unreadable eyes. "Why are you really here?" he asked. She didn't turn around. "Work," she said. "I don't have the luxury of inheriting companies and yachts," he scoffed. "You think my life is easy? You have no idea what responsibility looks like." Emma spun toward him, fury burning in her gaze. "Responsibility doesn't include humiliating people for fun." Adrian stiffened. He knew exactly what incident she meant, the internship she lost because of something he said. "That was years ago," he said, lowering his voice. "I was stupid back then." Emma moved past him. "We're not doing this," she whispered. They searched the mansion for hours, moving through dusty bedrooms, eerie hallways, and creaking staircases. At one point, Emma slipped on wet floorboards and would have fallen through a loose plank if Adrian hadn't. T grabbed her waist and pulled her back. She felt his breath on her cheek, warm despite the cold air. His hands lingered a second too long before he let her go. "Be careful," he whispered. They found an old parlor room where they decided to wait out the storm. Adrian managed to light a fireplace using wood from a broken chair. Orange flames cast shadows on the cracked wallpaper, warming the room. Emma sat across from him, hugging her knees. "You're shivering," he said. She lifted her chin. "I'm fine." Adrian stood, walked over, and draped his jacket around her shoulders. She froze. "Don't read into it," he said. "We're stuck here. Keeping you alive benefits me too." A reluctant smile tugged at her lips. Maybe he wasn't the monster she'd made him in her mind. Hours passed and conversation slowly replaced silence. Emma found herself telling him about her struggles, her mother's medical bills, her failed relationships, the pressure of surviving alone. Adrian listened, genuinely listened, not interrupting or mocking. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. "My father died last year," he said. "The company fell on me overnight. Everyone expects me to be perfect. I've been drowning ever since." Emma looked at him with surprise. She had never seen him vulnerable. "I'm sorry," she whispered. A loud crack of thunder made her jump, and Adrian moved closer instinctively. For a moment, the mansion, the storm, the past, all of it faded. Only the warmth of his presence remained. "Emma," he said softly, brushing a damp strand of hair behind her ear. "I never hated you," she swallowed, heart pounding. "You acted like you did, because I didn't know how to deal with someone who—" He hesitated. "Someone who made me feel things I didn't want to feel." She tried to look away, but he gently held her chin. "I was a coward," he whispered. "But not anymore." Before she could respond, a loud thump echoed somewhere upstairs. Emma gasped, and Adrian immediately stood, shielding her behind him. "Stay here," he ordered. But she followed him anyway as they climbed the creaking stairs, the sound repeating like footsteps in the darkness. "Probably an animal," Adrian said, though his voice sounded unsure. They found the source in a room with broken furniture scattered across the floor. A loose shutter banged against the window. Emma let out a breath of relief. But as they turned to leave, the floor gave way beneath her. She screamed as she fell into a lower room, crashing onto a pile of old pillows. Dust filled the air. Adrian shouted her name and jumped down after her. She coughed, dazed but alive. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, hands running over her arms, her face checking for injuries. His worry melted her remaining anger. "I'm okay," she whispered. They were now in what looked like an old servant's quarters. The storm's rumble felt distant from here. Adrian helped her stand, his hand warm and steady on her back. "You scare the hell out of me," he murmured. She looked up at him. "Why?" "Because losing you would hurt," he admitted, voice cracking. Something in her chest shifted. Slowly, hesitantly, Emma placed her hand on his cheek. "Adrian." He leaned in, forehead touching hers. The heat between them grew, magnetic and undeniable. When their lips finally met, it was slow, gentle, full of emotions they had buried for years. Emma felt everything, the fear, the anger, the longing, and it all fused into something impossibly real. Adrian pulled her closer, deepening the kiss as if he'd been waiting forever. When they finally pulled away, breathless, he whispered, "I don't want to be your enemy anymore." They climbed out of the damaged room and returned to the firelit parlor. Emma rested against him, his arm around her as the storm slowly weakened. They talked about the future, about forgiveness, about starting over. "Do you think we could ever work?" she asked quietly. Adrian pressed a kiss to her hair. "I think we already do." When the morning sun finally broke through the clouds, they managed to pry the front door open. Cool, fresh air rushed in as they stepped outside. Emma paused, looking back at the mansion, the place that forced them together, broke down their walls, and changed everything. Adrian laced his fingers with hers. "Let me make things right," he said. She smiled softly. "Then don't let go." Adrian squeezed her hand. "Never." They walked toward the road, the storm now only a memory, leaving behind the mansion, but carrying something far greater: hope, forgiveness, and a love born from the most unexpected place.